Alright, welcome back to another Play and Explain. Just gonna fold here. Gonna check here. In this video we're playing 2 tables of 1K, 2 tables of 400. Was playing, and then I got 1 table on the side of Ontario that maybe I'll put in if the games break. But yeah, that's about it right now. So we got a God spot over here to start the video. Make sure I'm recording good and everything's good. Okay. Yeah, I think 20 big blinds here is a good size. Out of position, you're just gonna have to size up a little more. Plus, these are like, they're not. It's not like it's an early position size here, so yeah. Meaning that this 3-bet is going to be light, meaning that I can 4-bet a little lighter. This opening range is going to be a little wider, meaning that, you know, when it's EP and he's 3-betting, he has a lot stronger of a hand, meaning I have to be a lot tighter. Obviously, it doesn't really matter when you have aces. And only trap at the club here. I'm blocking these ace-6 of clubs calls. We're just going to continue here. I think you would continue range here. Sorry if I look over to the side. I have another table going. We're going to go B20. Maybe we should size up here. I'm trying to think. B20 might not be the best size, actually. 4-bet pots are a little weird. Simply due to, like, we're making some hands indifferent, but we're basically blocking those types of hands. Don't really love this spot. I feel like we're going to get cooked here a good amount. I like the idea of betting again simply for the fact that he's going to have a lot of pocket pairs with a club that have to call this. Oh. Just going to say no. Oh, I think we check evaluate here. Probably check call. I mean, you could maybe jam it, but I mean, maybe it's a better of a jam. I think we definitely get called by worse half the time here. So I guess we're gonna jam. I could be misplaying the spot. Let's hope, but can you just think for a couple more seconds so I don't lose? He's gonna have ace king sometimes. Players will have it here. You're gonna have king X. Okay, I guess whatever. That's the advantage to playing a kind of a weird line, just tripling off there, because people just make absurd exploits that they can't know. I think that's the one thing in poker. I call it guessing, because that's what it is. It's exploiting would be like, okay, I know my opponent. This is why it's important to know theory, because exploiting there would be, okay, I know my opponent is doing X, so I'm going to do Y, right? And then what some people do is they guess and they're like, well, I don't think my opponent's doing it. I think my opponent could be doing X here, so I'm going to do Y. But does that make sense? So I think he has no bluffs here. I'm going to call, obviously you have population exploits and stuff like this, which are relevant, but I think sometimes people, like I played a hand versus, I guess, I don't know. I played a hand versus Ivers today where I just didn't understand what he was doing in the line, but the only reason I say that is to increase my my common interaction, because I know anytime I mention anyone like that's name, people are quick to comment. So if you're watching this, that's the only reason I did it. Stir up the drama. But yeah, just I noticed, like, I think that's the advantage of theory, because like you just have to realize sometimes, like, some people rely solely on just exploiting all the time, and they understand the theory of like, okay, when they do X I do Y, but when you have that baseline, when you just go back to like, okay, well, I don't know, so I'm gonna do X. I hope that made sense. But it's good to have, like, if you don't know anything about your opponent, there should be a style of play that you could still play. Like, obviously, what most people do when they don't know anything about their opponent is they play population exploits versus them, which is fine. Like, obviously, I'm not gonna sit here and say that you're losing with your population exploits, but if your goal is to play the highest stakes, eventually you can't just simplify to population exploits. You're going to have to actually learn the game. If you're playing like 100 NL, 50 NL, 25, which I imagine most of you guys are, then it is important to understand. You shouldn't always be right. It's okay if that guy's the oddball and isn't. Okay, so he's sucked out here. Like, isn't playing like population is. You know what I'm saying? You can't always know everything, but yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm saying a whole lot of nothing now, but I guess I was saying in poker, I recommend trying to guess as little as possible. If you're making a play based on a population exploit, then that's not guessing. You're committing to your population exploit, So that's not what I'm saying, I guess. But Anyway, I'm yapping to start the video. What's new? I'm talking to myself. Well, yeah. Anyway, so we're up heaps right now. I'm up heaps on the day, as usual. The GOAT. Get a lot of. I got a couple comments. I noticed the more views my videos get, the more criticism I face. I actually enjoy it. I enjoy the hate. I feel like I don't like that. I post for the people who really support. Like I know who you are. The guys who comment every single video. Like I remember all your names. I really appreciate every comment. Like I'm sorry if sometimes I don't reply to them or show, but I really do appreciate the people who. You're the only reason I keep posting. Is I don't really make that much money from it or anything, but I just feel almost indebted to just keep putting out content for you guys because of how supportive you've been. So, gonna call here. You could raise sometimes, I'm assuming. 10 of clubs, you're gonna unblock these ace 10 backdoors. So it's a pretty good combo here. And then you also want to fast play a little because most turn cards aren't going to be great for you. Obviously this one's good, but like a queen jack, like for example queen jack, you can hit an over. So folding out a hand like king queen or ace queen on the flop wouldn't be as good compared to, you know. If I could fold that ace queen with jack 10, it's a little better. And here, could do either. I think I'm just going to be 75. I think you can play small or big. You could also play gigapolar here, so I'm a little... I didn't think enough about this. I'm kind of betting my hand. This is just the most jack 10 hand. I don't know. But I think B75 is probably okay. People love calling. The meta nowadays is just... the meta nowadays is just call all the time, don't bluff that much. But ACR people bluff a lot. I would say I'm probably one of the more reserved people when it comes to bluffing. My bluffs work very often. I've been running very good on ACR. I deposited 2K. I guess I can tell you guys what I'm up to. I'm up to whatever. I'm 8K plus 5K right now. So that's 13K plus 1,000. So like plus 6K. So basically at like 14. So basically I'm up like 12K so far. Since I've deposited. And that's not including my rake back or my first deposit bonus, by the way, which I've only made like 300 bucks off of. So definitely been running very good. It's been a good year for me. Run variance wise. Here on a 2, like I think if it was like UTG. Honestly at this depth, do we do it? No. We'll do it here. Here, I think I'm going to call here. You could fold it, I think. I don't have a read on the player. I'm assuming it's going to call most of the time. So, I think Queen Jack I would consider folding. This just performs better. It's less dominated. Like the 10 compared to the Queen. And just going to toss here. This line's interesting. He probably has like 9s or 8s or something. Or maybe he's just set mining. Trying to post good videos for you guys, so I hope I can get more 1Ks going because I know you guys like seeing the higher stakes. Yeah. Gonna go to 2.5 here. Here, I believe this is a fold, especially off the short stack. The short stacks always get me. So if people are gonna comment, "Oh, that's not a fold," that I don't know. I don't know how to play versus 40 bigs. Shoot me. Actually, please tell me in the comments. Because I'm not the best at it. I have an idea. You know, I've won some big tournaments and stuff, but by no means am I the most studied. That would be... All right, so yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys would like to see. I like to switch it up. I know some people want ACR, some people want Ontario. I'm only gonna really play on GG. Here we're just gonna call here. Never. It's not one of those spots where you can 4-bet ace queen and call off. Those spots would mainly be button versus small blind and blind versus blind. Those are the two spots where you could 4-bet sometimes ace queen suited and call off. Just to have do I recommend doing that versus your guys' pool? I don't know. You're going to have to decide that one for yourself. Here, I guess I don't really see the point in betting. We're just going to check. I mean, he checks on, like, the ultimate nut board for him. We want to keep in some of these random spade hands anyway that maybe he would fold. I don't know. He probably bets Jack 10 of spades, so I don't really know if there's a combo out there that... I'm trying to think what the check actually means, and this is when I get into Exploitville. I don't know. Do we have to call this, is the question. I'm going to be checking back on the king like an absurdly high frequency because I just don't really believe people's checks. The question is, I guess we'll call. I mean, the main logic is, are we priced in versus a pocket pair? Like jacks and tens, because that's like obviously the main idea. It might just be Kongs. It's like the only line he plays like this. And we might be getting redlined by something else, which is the downside of calling, but you're basically calling just to hit your 2 cards. On a queen, I would call that size and just whatever, nice hand. Oh, I should size up bigger deep stacked. I missed that. That's very unfortunate. So here I get flattered. Gonna be a range check. Here we can do either. I think Kings mostly wants to shove. We could call though. On a 47. He didn't go very big, so we want to call more often. I'm gonna call. Yikes. And we're gonna raise here. The pocket fives. Gonna call here with the obviously never folding. Huh. It's also possible that bluffs here. You need, it's like 10s with the clubs and jacks with the club. I mean, like 9s, but 9s fold flop. So. I think what I'm going to do is check and bluff river. If he checks, we just take our showdown. I maybe on a 79 here, because like here's where rolling matters, because like we're gonna have a very limited amount of like bluff combos, so I could see maybe on a 79 here. I don't know what I'm really hoping this guy has. Like I guess I could jam. Oh, that's classic. Maybe I might have made a mistake there. That one I'll probably take a look after the video for you guys. I'll probably run it with the correct... It's weird because I'm going to run it and the pre-flop is incorrect. Ryan and me both made a mistake. He sized way too small and I sized my 3-bet too small. Okay. I got a spot over here. Sorry about that. Here, definitely going to be betting. You could go to half pot. I'm going to go small. It's hard for people to defend overs because you have people behind you that could act. So if someone wants to just float something and then someone raises, you're just punted money for no reason. So puts a lot of pressure. So that's why the small bets perform very well. We take it down. But yeah. Because in order for me to really be indifferent with any hand I'm 3-betting at that stack depth, you should be sizing way bigger. As Ryan, like probably to 30 bigs. And then I stand to gain more from shoving, right? Because assuming his ranges are the same, he just missed size, which would be a weird assumption, but let's just, like for an example, let's just say that. Then I make more from when I shove, you know what I'm saying? I make more from the fold equity I get. And then I also make... causing him to also have to call more, and then I make just because he has more put in, you have to call more when you put in more, meaning that my kings actually perform better. Like if you had 200 big blinds and I just jammed 200 big blinds, you would pretty much only need to call aces, right? So that's why it kind of matters. And then also I want to call more, so naturally I'll defend my calling range a little more, like, you know, if that makes sense. That being said, I'm sure kings could jam sometimes. I just felt like jamming it in the moment. I mean, I felt like calling. The positions of the tables are very tight, so the only real true value hand at that depth from those positions is going to be aces. Everything else is just a mix-up, to a degree. Then I have no clue. I know I would have very little bluffs on the river, but I'm just... So maybe I should have played my hand differently. I just didn't love the street. Maybe river I should have just jammed. How many bluffs would you really have for to jam on the river? I mean, I know... Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look at that one. Like, I don't have nines. I mean, obviously you could have, like, king, queen. And stuff like this. Because he went small, I'd probably call queen 10 suited. So it's not like I would have zero bluffs, you know. I wouldn't have as good of a candidate. Yeah. And maybe he just always has an ace when he takes that line and I should be bluffing. Because my showdown value is kind of fake. Because I think anything worse than in kings, he would be bluffing himself. Outside of maybe king queen, which I block. So maybe there's no reason to worry about the showdown. I don't know. That's a spot I wouldn't say. I would be lying if I say I know. But I think that's poker is you want to study these spots not to know. You want to study these spots so when I get a similar spot next time I know how to approach it, which is going to be how we look at the spot when we look at it. Because obviously that spot's not going to come up again. But the key is you want to be able to develop thought processes like on the fly. Okay. How long have I been recording? 17 minutes. Sorry, when I look over there. Maybe the jam would have been cool. Because the thing is it's so easy to have a good amount of value there because I'm going to be 3-betting a lot of my suited connectors and calling. But I'm not going to have like 7s on the flop. I mean, maybe you float sometimes. I don't know what size you went. I felt like it wasn't that small. So. Sometimes you have to float things in poker simply for the reason that we could get that turn card. That's another thing that people don't take into account. So you don't take it into account necessarily for how you play, but it's important to know that, okay, well, if I'm bluffing that river there, like think about it, if you're ever in Ryan's shoes in game, right? And let's say you even have aces, right? Maybe aces you call it but let's say you have queens, right? Your opponent has to be bluffing a hand that looks like what I just had. You know what I'm saying? So you could say, oh, I'm at the top of, my hand's very strong, da-da-da. I mean, you have to be giving your opponent a lot of credit to call, you know? I'm just going to hit 12 here so it looks autopilot-y. I don't know. I don't know what the correct size here is. It seemed like 12 is probably fine anyway. And I've been constantly like accidentally going 12 for short stacks without realizing it. There I did realize it. And they've been shoving on me, so. Here. What is the spot? 85. I'm going to fold it here. Probably should call on an 85, so I'm not playing smart. Oh, twice or once. Good start. God, he's just the GOAT. Everyone in the crowd agrees. We can go to 28 here off this depth. It's like 130 something. We'll go to 28, call off. Good luck us. Two? Yikes. I believe. Yep. Me and the 10 go way back. Yep, told you. Bro! I'm always trailing. Fair enough, man. How many? This guy hit every king in the deck. Who does that? Okay, is this a call? Probably, right? 8. Oh. I was calling for weird cards. Oh no. Oh, 8. Okay, so our deck bending skills need work. I'm gonna have to improve on that, guys. I'm not able to warp the deck like I used to. So let me know if you guys have any tips for winning all-ins in the comments. Three flips, I only won 1. On the river, too. Like, I never got to feel like a champ. I only had 1 street. I was ahead. So he leads here. I think we just call with ace queen. I think the hands you fold are not as good as ace queen, because ace queen's just beating a good amount of his range, naturally. And now we're tossing. Obviously, you can make exploits here. If your opponent's always continuing, I mean, ace queen's not that good. I just think you went a little too small for me to start just actually tossing stuff. I think it's important to remember, like, when you call leads on the flop or the turn, that there is a river. Because some people just think they're getting exploited because they don't hit. Like, there you call because I have the equity of hitting an ace. Or I'm not calling a river lead, right? I'm calling a flop lead, which is important to understand. Like, sometimes you're not going to ever hit there for a long period of time, and you're going to think you're doing something wrong because, oh, people are stringing you along for value or whatever. But sometimes that guy's leading range, has ace jack, and I fold ace queen for no reason, and an ace would have came off. So here it's check check. I'm just gonna. He's not gonna hit the 8 that often, so. I mean, a lot of people, some players are good enough to check aces here, because aces should be pretty much a pure check. In this spot, just to defend a checking range is very good. There's no really bad turn card for you. There's like 90% of hands in your opponent's range. I'm just gonna block. And if he raises, I probably just either jam or toss. Jam's kind of neat because I just don't. He's gonna have to actually bluff catch me. I don't think he ever has the nuts. Nice. Here multi-way. I'm just gonna B20 here. Okay, so what happened here? Check, check. No diamond. I think I'll just check again without a diamond. You obviously need some bluffs on a non-diamond river, but I don't think it's gonna come from Jack 10. Could be wrong though. That's a good card. Check raise here is kind of neat. I think I go with that. Unblocking the reopening range. He could have a hand like King Queen that reopens. He could have some weird ace X. I think a lot of the time, like the hands that aren't ace X that he has, like the hands that like technically could be calling are gonna be like very, very weak, like Queen 8. Like I want to get more value than that. I want to get more value. And my hand doesn't perform very well if I bet and get raised as well, so I'd rather, I don't know. I mean, obviously I'm calling, but I don't know. I'm sure it's mixing. So, yeah. I call here. I don't know if it's a pure call. We were a little deeper and he didn't account for it with the size, so I don't mind. I'm just going to continue here. Could overbet. Probably should overbet. And if we were going to pick a checking candidate, it would probably be this with the 10 of spades blocking some of his calling range. And also, yeah. Call. Gonna lead here. He's gonna have a lot of air, so. And we're gonna check. And if he bets, do we jam? The issue is like his reopen is so strong. I don't know. The issue I'm running into here, and why I'm not going to bluff this hand, even though it's like a great combo, and we rolled an 87, it might be a jam. Ugh. No, I'm gonna stick to my read, and it's a jam, I think. But the main reason I don't jam here is I just don't think people give you... This is maybe I'm exploitable now for saying this, but I just don't think I'm going to get much credit in that line. I think it's really hard for people to believe. The thing is, I would be repping like 10 9 of hearts, right? That would be the main hand I'm repping. So, which probably is a hand that would play that way, but I just don't think people really give you credit in that line when you jam. So, I knitted it up. I kind of regret it though. I'm not going to lose that much sleep over it though. I know exactly why I didn't do it. And if that reason's wrong, then fair enough. But at least I know the reason, you know. Sound like an addict. But my reason is I just don't, even though my hand's in theory, blah, 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 everything's perfect, I just don't think people give you credit in that line. And that makes you exploitable because then you're basically, any line where you don't rep value that well, you basically always have value. So that's the exploit. Because logically people can reverse exploit you. And there's a lot of players that do that. They don't bluff in lines where they don't bluff in lines where they don't rep value well, so they always actually somehow have value. It's a weird... There's a lot of players like that. So we 3-bet, check flop. We're going to check turn. Probably check river. I'm not in love with it. I'll probably take a look at that one as well. Those will probably be the two hands I'd take a look at. I've been recording for 27 minutes here. So, yeah. I'm gonna stop recording in a sec here and get on to the studying part of the video. Damn. Now this spot, I might do something a little sneaky. Okay, that spot, if he bet, I was jamming it. Because that spot, for example, no one bluffs that spot. Alright. Sometimes it's important to have the discipline in theory, but I think some people also delude themselves into thinking they understand certain spots perfectly theoretically. Obviously this guy always just does this, so annoying. So what happened here? B75. I mean, I probably have to call river here. I mean, you're gonna have Jack 10 10 9, and I just can't see him not betting it pure. But we're gonna find out. Yeah, you shouldn't bluff ace-x, so that's well played. Because you have enough of the other shit. But yeah, we're gonna take a look at those two big spots. They're both non-bluffs, so it both shows how nitty I am. Yeah. I don't know. Both spots I do think were profitable, and I probably should have taken them. So, yeah. The one devil's advocate, the other hand, is that spot really isn't reopened that much. It's a bluff. So, basically, when I bluff that queen 10 hand, I'm trying to get my opponent off a really strong range. And that's basically both hands were kind of the idea. That was the idea. I would have to get my opponent off a very strong range. So, yeah, maybe I'm under bluffing in spots where I expect my opponent to have really strong ranges. Which is not the worst thing ever. So for you guys playing in lower stakes, I recommend never really... You don't really need to take those spots. Unless you know they're overfolded. But... Yeah, so I got a spot over here. We've been recording for 29 minutes. Let's do sit out all, and once I'm done all, I'm going to get to the studying part of the video where we'll look at the two hands together. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I tried to do my best to make entertaining, thoughtful content. Hopefully it's at least, even if I'm not the best player ever, hopefully it's like thought-provoking. It makes you think about what you're doing in your game. Decisions in your... Because that's kind of the point. The whole point is I explain what I'm thinking about. And I don't talk about it like it's the gospel. Because it's definitely not. I learn so... I feel like I get 1% better every day. That I at least try to. Maybe 5%. And I just get 5% worse half the time. But, see here. Check, check. I think like here, like it's okay to have some, but I'd rather have some hand. Like, I don't know. You want equity here. Like, I think I want to hit the 5-4-6 range. And I probably should be kind of range betting flop, but that's basically, it's okay to have a pure give up, which would is kind of that hand. I feel like I played so nitty, but you know, it's a 30-minute video. And for example, that queen 10 of hearts, and even then, you have to be careful because you still need a good bluff to value ratio. And for example, Jack 10 there is objectively just a better bluff sometimes. So, like, if I'm taking queen 10, Jack 10, and I'm not thinking, I think that's, and I'm trying to get my opponent off a really strong range, all he has to do now is just call his really strong range. Like, why would he give me the credit of like, oh, the whole point of like, when you're trying to get your opponent to fold the flush or something, he needs to be indifferent because you want to call that flush. Like, you don't get to make a flush very often. Like, you're getting really exploitable if you're just permanently calling. So you need to make your opponent indifferent. And I just figured that spot didn't rep it well. I would call myself there with the flush, you know. Like, I would call the line because I just think the line makes no sense. And I think maybe I doppelganger affected that. I think the spot versus Ryan, I should have found maybe the jam. The line was kind of weird, but I think it would have actually been a pretty good line. Because I think a flush could play like that. Maybe I should just B20 turn permanently. I don't know, I'm excited to look at it. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one, and I'm out. Peace. Alright, on to the review from the hand versus Ryan. I give him 15% on the flop. You could play 5%, you could play 10%. It's hard to really get a size. I mean, I think 5% is the main preferred sizing, funny enough. Because, as you can see here, you actually do have a lot of queen X. So you actually do want to play a lot of raises here on the flop versus the small size. Because you want to pass play your ace queen and your queens. And your raises mainly come from your lower pocket pairs with the club. And you're just actually never really folding them. And you're also calling these with the small size because your backdoor playability. So it looks like you actually really do not want to overfold that flop. Because it is a small size, so as you can see here, you're only really supposed to be folding 27%. You're not supposed to just toss. Jacks don't perform very well, but you're still calling jacks with the club. Basically calling every pocket pair with the club. Outside of 9s and 10s, I think are the worst. Which is odd, because 10s does have this, like 10s on this card is pretty decent, so yeah. But anyway, on the turn here, you actually do play some jams here, which is just from these fast played value, and your only bluff I can think of is in the jamming range is just kings with the club. But yeah, I don't think you guys really need to play that. But yeah, the jack of clubs, it's not a great card. Pretty obvious, but it does look like it doesn't love the small size. So basically you're still keeping your foot on the gas when you do want to bet. And your bluff's coming from the king jack, king 10, or king 10's not a bluff, king jack and king queen region mainly, and some pocket kings with the club drawing obviously. And then here is the spot where I had a decision. Funny, it plays a jamming range around queens, and the main bluff it uses is kings. Because I guess you're worried about ace-king with a club being in your opponent's checking range. Even though it does bet pretty often, I'm assuming it's one of the better calls. I'm not going to screw the whole system up and show you, but this is just almost an impossible line to find here. I would just stick to B20. Mainly, and our hand mostly is checking. It likes to B20 sometimes, but we rolled like not the highest number in game, I think, so we went with the check. And then when he checks river here, as you can see, and we're just pure checking. I mean, I think I forgot in game, double blocking your opponent's pocket kings, which you would assume are pure folding, is not the greatest. So he didn't go that big on the flop. In fact, he actually went smaller than 15%, I think. So well, we can easily just turn these hands into a bluff. No need to turn pocket kings into a bluff here. The blocker's nice, the king of clubs, but it only really blocks king 10, which is a royal. So if your opponent's a royal, I think you just say nice hand. So yeah, obviously blocking ace king with the club is nice, but yeah. Anyway, on to the next hand. On to the next hand, which I'm going to kind of run with you guys because it's almost impossible to run. Opponent's supposed to play half pot on the flop. And then on the turn, the 9 is just simply not a good enough card because he actually has more 9x than we do. So we're basically leading on a card that we don't have more of. As you can see, we only really have ace 9, 10, 9 here in this line. So we're leading on a card that's not great for us. So when I node lock a leading range in, it does prefer ace queen of hearts is the best, like obviously blocking the most amount of stuff your opponent can have, like blocking the most 9x, you know, and jack x. But and unblocking like clubs that fold maybe turn, like ace 10 of clubs, or I don't even know. Not the best leading line. Even when I give my opponent a leading line, he just raises everything, so I can't even run the sim. So I'm going to have to also node lock calls here. So we're going to do this in real time. If you're looking for the software I use, link in the description for a discount. You can even see some all-ins here. But we'll go with the call. We'll get rid of his raising range just to try and get to a point where maybe we can slightly take something away if there's not already enough. And I believe the river was like a 10 of diamonds or something. Let me check. 10 of spades. Oh yeah, flush. I knew that. I don't know why I acted like I didn't know that. River was a 10 of spades. And then anyway, on the river, Queen 10 actually does like blocking, but we obviously go for the check. Sometimes checks. Jack 10 becomes a bluff for a jam. Our opponent reopens for... This is basically what he did. And Queen 10 here would be losing 6 bigs for jamming, and the main bluffs do come from Jack 10. And that's pretty much all you need. So it's kind of right with the idea that the main bluff is Jack 10, because you're too worried about your opponent having pocket jacks, which is a huge deal. Because I'm assuming... So you'd rather bluff ace jack, because the 10 is kind of irrelevant. Like, you can see pocket 10s here. It's nice, but the jack X is going to be the main one. And even then, you might get bluff caught by a jack X with a spade, which I wasn't even thinking of in game, so... Yeah. I was thinking, like, yeah, obviously you block this, which also for some reason isn't high frequency. Like, you could give it your opponent higher frequency, but yeah. Anyway, I'm out here. It looks like both of them are non-bluffs, so I can sleep well a little bit better. They would have been exploitative bluffs. I'm not saying they're not making money, and people in the comments might argue that they are, but at least I didn't drastically punt my EV, you know? Anyway. Yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.